KNUST saga erupts again as University Teachers Association revive their industrial action with revelations parties have so far failed to agree on the composition of a new governing council.
Whatever we agreed upon doesn't hold. And whatever I said, UTAG declared with respect to calling off the strike and everything, do not hold.
The R reports tonight government has refused to submit its list of nominees to the council, pointing to bad faith, despite efforts by the Asante Henry Otumfuo Osei II to have the matter resolved tonight.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is brought to you by Bond, also brought to you by Gasem Cement, the Nation Builder, Vodafone, the future is exciting, ready, and nationwide. The KNUST saga has erupted again as government, on the one hand, has been left firmly on a collision course with Labour on the other over the composition of the new governing council for the university. Asante Henry Otumfuo Osei II has, in the last several hours, been chairing a meeting of all parties in a desperate attempt to have the council reconstituted by tonight, so the school can reopen as scheduled. Remember that the school has remained closed since the violence erupted a couple of weeks back. There's a curfew still on campus, but we are learning of deep disagreements between government and other unions with a mandate to also nominate people to the council. The Education Ministry dissolved the KNUST Governing Council following the violent demonstrations on the campus. Government was supposed to have submitted names of its representatives to the council on Wednesday, according to a roadmap agreed on by the various stakeholders. That hasn't happened from what we're hearing. Let's go to the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, where all these negotiations are still unfolding. We'll join my reporter on the line from Kumasi, Kwesi Deborah, who has been following the meeting for us from the Mensah Palace. Also the line with us is the national president of the University Teachers Association, UTAG, Dr. Ekopoku Mensah. Thank you very much for your time here on Top Story.
UTAG. Dr. Ekopoku Mensah, thank you very much for your time here on Top Story.
Yeah, thank you.
Also on the line with me is Kwesi Deborah. Let me go to Kwesi Deborah first because he's in Mensah for us. Kwesi, what can you report from this meeting?
Yes, what I can say is that the meeting is still ongoing. Earlier we were told about 3 hours ago by the Chief of Staff of Mensah Palace, that's Kofi Bedu, that we have to go because there's not going to be any form of, as it were, reconstitution of the council, because he says that there are certain legal procedures they would have to go through before the whole thing is done, and they are not done with that procedure. So they are waiting to do all those things, and so they can proceed with the whole thing. So now we are still there. Nobody has come out. He told us that it might happen this evening or it might be on Monday. So we are monitoring whether it's going to happen this evening. That's why we are here monitoring, Evan.
But somehow the meeting is still ongoing. Who is part of this meeting? Do you know?
Yes, it's the university authorities. And I saw the chairman of the interim council, that's Wampata Hene, also there. But I don't really know what he is doing there. But I'm thinking, of course, he's going to hand the baton to the new reconstituted council. So then he has to be around. But I know of the university authorities, they were in the bus. That's university authorities and also members of the SRC. And what we were learning, also other members who are going to be part of the reconstituted council. So these are the people I know are there. So we're still waiting what will come out of it.
Yeah, but that is a curious bit. The chief of staff, the Otumfuo chief of staff, had said, "Listen, nothing's going to happen tonight." But somehow the meeting is still going on to see if something might come up eventually.
Evans, what he said is he's not really sure whether the whole thing will happen tonight. So is that it has been postponed, but there's no timeline to the whole thing. So that's why he's saying that it might happen this evening or it might be on Monday. So there's no timeline. That's why it's a bit curious. We're a bit curious why they are still there and they are not done with the meeting. And what we are thinking, some coming from certain quarters, is that actually they are reconstituting everything. They are reconstituting the new council. That's what we are hearing. Those are unconfirmed reports. But as I'm saying, that he says that anything can happen. And should anything happen, he's going to let us know. But so we are here. We are still waiting whether it's going to happen this evening or it's going to be on Monday.
Chrissy, I'm grateful that you join us with that quick update. And what is happening tonight is based on an agreement that was reached and communicated to the world earlier this week. You remember there was a meeting in Mensha, and following that meeting with the Otumfuo, there was a second meeting in Accra where the teacher unions met with the Education Ministry and the minister responsible for tertiary education. And after that, a communique was read out, which in essence set a timeline ending today, close of day today, which was essentially that they will, by close of day today, have a new substantive governing council in place. And from what we're hearing, it looks like there is a challenge there. In fact, our sources in government has told us that there was an agreement with the labor unions that they will submit fresh names to, constitute this governing council, and that, however, in the meetings today, that hasn't happened. And so government is insisting that the other unions submit fresh names, but the unions have said, no, we simply want to return the members on the governing council you dissolved. And government doesn't want that. That appears to be what is causing the delay and the stalemate almost in the negotiations still unfolding. Dr. Ekopoku, your members, have you made your own nomination appointments to the council already? Hello, Doc.
Hello.
Yes, have you made your nominations to the council already?
Yes, we have done so.
But so what is delaying this?
I think that the Ministry of Education will be in the best position to explain. Because as we met on Monday, we set out a roadmap that on Wednesday, all the unions, together with government, should submit their nominations. UTAG and the other unions did fulfill our part of the agreement and did so on Wednesday. And we're expecting faithfully that today, the new council will be inaugurated so that the IMC can bring its work to an end. But didn't happen. And what we heard as of yesterday was that government was unhappy about the nominations of the unions. And that was troubling because we felt that we had come to a certain agreement and that government doesn't have the right to determine who should be chosen by a union to represent it on council. So we're just surprised and felt that government has reneged on its promise as contained in the press release, and that this is a breach of trust. And this is where we are. But I know certainly Shantehene Otumfuo was 82. He's doing whatever he can within his powers to make sure that we are able to inaugurate the council and that government, finally agrees to bring its nominee so that the council can be inaugurated. So that is what we are looking forward to.
Is it true? Is it true that all the other unions, with the exception of CHAS, has simply returned your members from the dissolved council?
Has simply done what?
Returned your members. The members that you had on the previous council that was dissolved. You simply brought them back.
I cannot say that for a fact, but I know UTAC has done so, and all the other unions have brought back their members. If that is the case, of course, I am not privy to the list, and that would only be known to us when the inauguration is being done to know who and who was nominated by which union. But if that is the case, it will not be surprising to me because the processes by which representatives are chosen. For example, if you look at SRC, they have to go through a long period of campaign and all of that to choose a president. and the president ought to serve a term for 1 year. So the current SRC president, if you ask that by virtue of what is being, what government is talking about now, that the union should bring different people, SRC president is supposed to step aside for SRC to nominate another person to come and represent SRC. How is that process going to be done? Is government calling for an election, or say that the SRC president should just be in office, and that the SRC should meet, somebody should meet and choose another person? How is that going to be possible? So this is a very complex call by government. And in the history of our public universities, this has never been seen before, that a UTAG president who has been duly elected by UTAG members will be asked to step aside and somebody else goes to represent the association on council, while the UTAG president as UTAG president for a term of 2 years. So this is a very complex situation, and we feel that the government was asking too much. Because per the act, government has the right to change whoever is representing it on the council. And the unions have that right too. So if a person's performance, by virtue of what has happened at KNUSC, is unsatisfactory to the union the person represents, then certainly it is within the rights. For example, UTAG members to say that, Professor Foucault, you went there, you contributed to this, we are unhappy with what you have done, and therefore we are going to trigger the processes of impeachment. It is only through that he can be impeached, an election done for somebody to come and represent UTAG on the council. Other than that, the UTAG president cannot be there, and the UTAG will meet and say that somebody else should go and represent. It's a very complex, it throws everything upside down. The unions have constitution, and it's through these constitution that they elect leaders to represent them on the various bodies, the various councils and committees within the university. And it's a very complex process. But when it comes to CHAS, I don't know the process by which they choose a person. Be it as it may, they have decided to get a new person to represent them. Maybe it isn't that complex. But with the SRC convocation, the non-professorial, a convocation election ought to be conducted before a non-professorial, non-professor can be chosen to represent them on council. So are all the others. So it's a very complex process, and it's never happened before. So what we are simply saying is that, look, these people have terms, and they are the term that they are supposed to serve in offices, whether SRC president or UTAG president. That term is less than the life of a council. So for the UTAG president, I know he has 1 more year to serve. SRC, he is living at the end of, he's serving only 1 year. So he just serves some few months. So this is it.
But government sources...
The opportunity for elections so that different persons could be elected to come and represent their interest groups on this same council that is going to be inaugurated.
Government sources tell us that you had an agreement that every other union will bring fresh names.
That constitute an untruth. We never came to that agreement, and I want the Minister of Information to come out and confirm, or the chair, the Venerable Professor Yanka, to come out and confirm that UTAG agreed with them at the meeting at the ministry on Monday that we promised that every union is going to change its representative. Never. I would never come out in the media to make out such a statement. We never agreed on that. Those issues were raised on the side of government. And we explained some of these things I'm explaining now, that it cannot happen because of the nature by which these representatives are chosen. So they ended and agreed, kept quiet on that subject matter. And it is only after that we moved forward. If that was the position of government, that they insist that until these unions brought different representatives, they would disagree, we wouldn't have agreed to have that press conference. That press conference, decision to have that press conference and the content of the press conference, the press release, was agreed upon because we had agreed that the Vice Chancellor is coming back, that the unions are going to bring their representatives, and we never, I emphasize, we never agreed at the meeting that these representatives will be other than those who were on the council. Of course, at that meeting, we could only even speak for UTAG because the other unions were not represented. So we couldn't even make that statement that we are going to tell them that, yes, they all promised to bring different representatives. For the UTAG president, he was even at the meeting. That these processes by which these people are elected or chosen to their various unions on council is a very complex process, and that it shouldn't be a call that government should make.
Yeah, but let me clarify
that I'm hearing that it was agreed, and I think that any evidence could be produced to that effect.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
Let me clarify: is it the case that, as far as your constitution is concerned, only the UTAG president on a respective campus can serve on the council?
The UTAG president is elected to lead the association and to represent the association in the university. So whilst it is not spelled out in the act establishing the university that the person who is supposed to represent UTAG is supposed to be the president, it is automatic. Why would we elect a leader and ask him to step aside for somebody else to go and lead us? Why didn't we elect that person?
But don't you have, apart from the president, I'm sure you have a vice president, a general secretary on the university campus as well, correct?
No, I mean, that's not the way it happens.
I'm just asking whether you have those other positions there too.
Oh yes, we do.
So what is wrong with appointing one of the others to also serve on the council?
It is improper because that person has not been elected to take decisions and lead the association. The vice president acts when the president asks him to do so, and that is clearly indicated in our constitution. So the president is the leader, the SRC president is the leader, the chairman of TEU is the leader of TEU, and the members of the association confidence in him through the election. So how then does a third party say that
But Dr. Poko, there's a substantive question about this old council that was dissolved. Was a council that supervised this chaos on campus that led to the destruction of property, and military police had to be called in, a curfew imposed, and that's my question. That's my question. Yes. So that's my question. So yes. Why would you bring back the council, these same members who sat on that council that watched on for all this to happen, and simply just bring them back to reconstitute the council? It doesn't even make for prudent management and governance processes on the campus and the university, seeing that you still have to resolve the conflict, and you're bringing the same old faces who supervised the conflict in the first place.
I disagree with that proposition. You see, whilst one may allege these representatives may have contributed in whatever decision that was taken, the issue is that the decision to represent the group on the council should not be made by any other person other than members of the union that elected or appointed that person.
I think that's not in doubt. But in bringing these people, aren't you considering the good of the university, seeing that these individuals at least were complicit in the reasons why they were dissolved in the first place? The chaos, the conflict, the violence, the curfew, all that. These same individuals you are bringing back were all complicit in what happened that you condemned.
I repeat the same statement. I'm saying that call, if it's legitimate, ought to be made by the intelligent people who elected these people to serve on the council. And there's no other person that can do that. So it is still within the rights of us as the student body of KNUST that in view of all that has happened on KNUST campus, all that has happened, they could trigger their constitution and say that because the SRC president was involved in A, B, C, D, we think he can no longer represent us on council, and therefore,
can you speak for UTAG?
Trigger the process of impeaching this person.
Yeah, I get why you're speaking about SRC, but can you speak about UTAG, because that's where you have the authority? Can UTAG also make that decision, knowing that your president was involved in the previous council? So why haven't you done that? Why haven't you done that? Why are you pushing the same guy on?
Because the unions, UTAG and the other unions, possibly do not think so.
Okay.
That the people who are representing them are culpable and or are not capable, and therefore they ought not to represent them. That is a call that the members ought to make. So, for example, if UTAG even decides, may it not happen that we want to choose a lecturer who is 100 years old or who is 10 years old, as long as the person is a lecturer, to represent their interests. So shall it be.
Okay, and finally, just let me ask you, you've told us at the top of this bulletin and when we played that interview that what is happening right now with government refusal to proceed with the process because they believe there's a breach of trust because of the previous agreement that you dispute. Your strike that you called off, you are reinstating the strike.
Yes, if the council, if our members are denied to serve on the council and government decides to do that, it was based upon the agreement we had on Monday. That is why I came out after the press conference to say that our members should hold on because we have come to a certain agreement to ensure a smooth transition from the IMC to a legitimate or a properly constituted council. If government is reneging on its the promise to play by the rules, by first submitting its nominees and by Friday making sure that the council is properly constituted, then really we cannot hold ourselves to that promise I did make on Monday. So that is it. Unfortunately, today is Friday. We have a weekend. I hope that cool heads will prevail. We will see reason, make sure that the council, the nominees for the reconstitution of the council are brought by government, so that the Tumfo who is leading this process will go ahead respectfully to do what he is supposed to do.
I almost hear you. Yes.
Other than that, then UTAG would take a decision, because we are not going to allow anybody to make any decision on behalf of the good people, of the association who are in this profession.
Yeah, and I almost hear you saying that if this is not resolved, over the weekend, Monday we're going to see lecturers on strike.
Not necessarily, but you see, I'm just hoping that we will get over this. I think that there is a little confusion here, and I'm really surprised about the development when we had a very smooth, because Evans, you were the first person I spoke to after the press conference.
Yeah.
And I talked about...
you applauded government for the...
government. So to see events turn out this way is surprising and unfortunate.
Well, I'm grateful that you joined us again. Dr. Eric Opoku-Mensah is the national president of the University Teachers Association. So that's where we are with this whole KNUST matter. It sort of went off the radar a bit, as we all anticipated that by Friday, close of day right now, we should be talking about a new reconstituted governing council for KNUST, awaiting the full reopening of the school so the students can go back. Remember that it's getting close to the end of the term and they've already lost at least 2 weeks. But here we are. We are no closer to resolving this impasse, and the meeting is still underway in Mensah Palace, with the Chief of Staff, or Tumfo Chief of Staff, already telling reporters that they don't have any hope that this will be resolved today. Let's speak to Parliament's Education Committee. The ranking member of that committee is Peter Nochu, joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Nochu, what's your reaction to this latest development in this KNUST matter?
Hello, Evans.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah. Good evening.
Yes. What's your reaction to this latest development?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really disappointed at the development so far, because we have all been expecting that by the close of the day, this reconstitution of the governing council would have been completed, and that would have given a bold step taken towards the resolution of events at KNUST. Yeah, actually, having followed the news very much, it is rather disappointing that there's arm twisting and bad faith on the part of government. What you have to do as a government is to allow the various unions and various groups that are represented on the council to elect whoever they want to be on the governing council, their constitution or convention or how they do it. But not for the Minister of Education or government to dictate to them who should be on the council. That is unfair. So I will support the various organizations that are to represent to submit their list as they have done, to insist on it. Because what is important is government should just nominate 4 persons onto the committee or the council, and one of them will be the chairman of a governing council. So this unnecessary interference from government should stop, so that life can be restored to normalcy is restored at the KNUSC for academic work to resume. It is not helping anybody. So I feel strongly that they should allow Otunfo to do his work. They should allow the various unions and societies or whatever to nominate their persons. If they want their own persons to be there, we don't have any choice, because those are the people they feel can represent them on the council. And listening to the UTAC president very carefully, I realized or discovered that they have conventions or rules that govern their elections. So I feel strongly that the government should take its hand off the various groups that are to nominate people. Let them either retain or change their members if they want, so that the council can be inaugurated for it to start work. Because we were all expecting that by close of today, this will have been done, and then the university will just announce a day for the reopening of the university, probably next week, and then life goes on at the university.
Yeah.
That would have been a very good step for all of us.
Well, the hope is that may still yet happen by close of day, but even amongst the officials at Mensah Palace, they are not confident that will happen. Let's see how this pans out in the coming hours. Thank you very much, Peter Njochu. He is the ranking member on the Education Committee. We're still at Mensah, still watching the meeting that is still being led by the Otunfo, all trying to resolve this impasse. Government is insisting they will not submit its list until the other unions present fresh names to the council. And the unions say they will never do that, and that if government is insisting, they will simply return to what used to be, which is a complete strike, withdraw their service. And remember, they want to bring on Monday, I'm calling a national strike, which means that all the public universities across the country will not have lecturers in their classrooms. And they pulled from the brink, went to negotiate because of this roadmap, which now seems to be up in flames. We're watching the space in the coming hours. So listening to Joy 99.7 FM. This is Top Story. It's brought to you by Bond, CIMG Savings and Loans Company of the Year, GASM, the Nation Builder, Vodafone. The future is exciting, ready. Nationwide Medical Health Insurance, Best Health Insurance Company of the Year at the 2018 Ghana Insurance Awards, and its CEO awarded Woman of Excellence at the Ghana Insurance Awards. Ghana Connect starts right now.